That's it. I'm done. I'm done. And we're back. It's been about a month, isn't it? I want to say.
It was exactly a month last Wednesday when we went on to the Foundry Roundtable podcast. So go check that out, guys. It was pretty awesome. But
that's a hell of a plug-in to start with the show.
I know. There we go. Yeah,
just saying.
There's another show about the Foundry.
I'm Ray, and that's a person who decided to plug a different show before our own.
I guess so. We're professional here. So professional that now I have a Foundry Files shirt. So booyah here. I'll show the logo off and why we should buy this. Heck yeah.
You see, I don't need one. I've been wearing it since like the beginning. This thing here.
Write in whose uniform you think is cooler. Leave it in the comments, people, or email us foundryfiles@gmail.com. You can also tell us what missions you want to play, or you can agree with people who have better uniforms. But anyway, with a month off, there's certainly stuff to talk about for news-wise. Some of it is recent, so we'll keep you up to date on some recent stuff going on, but it's going to be a lot of covering what's happened over the last month, in case you haven't been keeping an eye on anything. But and then we've got a review of Yesterday is Tomorrow, and I'm going to spoil it. This is one of my favorite missions, so there, it's not going to be a bad review, that's for sure. So, hey, should we go into this thing called News, Wee? We got to go over.
Good idea.
Yeah, we'll go over there into news. So here, I'll unlock the door and we can go. So, Legacy of Romulus came out, and we played Romulans like heck. How many Romulans do you got, Wee Wee? I only got one at max.
Oh.
You got 4? Okay, so you can see somebody really enjoyed the Romulans. That's surprising. How many Feds and Cleons do you have at max?
I have, I think it might be 7 Feds at max and 4 Romulans, the rest are Cleons, and I have 17 characters.
That's quite a bit.
Yes, it is.
That's a lot. So, honestly, Legacy Romulus was pretty fun. The only not so fun part about it was the Foundry was, of course, down for much longer than the usual 1 to 2 weeks. Mainly because there were 2 major bugs that popped up. Missions were republished about the usual 2 weeks afterwards, but there were 2 major bugs. What were they, Wee Wee?
One of them, I think, I don't know if it was really a major one, but it was the waypoints.
That was the first major one, because waypoints would be shown in different places.
It's more like an inconvenience, really, rather than a major one. The major one I'd see really classified would be the interactions, which you could not interact at all. That is kind of
that's a major one. They both were pretty major, because people were saying the waypoint is off the map. Where am I supposed to go? And especially on a space map with different heights and stuff, that's really weird. So
yeah,
both of those 2 things basically just made Foundry missions unplayable. There might have been a few unaffected out there, but it just basically meant nobody was really playing missions during those times, because you didn't know which ones would work and which ones wouldn't. And another problem was, I think this was because the reviews system changed a bit, but reviews weren't locked off for about a week or so people did get bad reviews for a little bit. Luckily, when enough authors complained, they went, oh, okay, we'll close that off. So
which is they made a little screw up this time. They haven't done it. They haven't done it with the kind of republishing the Foundry in the past seasons after season 4. no mentions there. But
this wasn't as bad as season 4, but it's the worst it's been since season 4.
They could have easily just forgotten or something because they're all like hassle the legacy Romulus. They've been under a lot of workload and that kind of stuff, so I can forgive them for that, to be fair.
Yeah, it's easy for me.
It's just really inconvenient for us, to be honest.
Yeah, it was really easy for me to forgive them now that the Foundry's back up. Which is why I was like, do we want to do a show when it's still down? No, because we'll kind of be moany and whiny and we'll be sad.
Well, it was like half the show is just a review of the mission.
I know. It's like that's the core thing. We try to keep it.
If we don't have the main stuff, how can we actually do a show at all?
We could have reviewed Admiral Bobo Goes to War. Maybe that's what we'll do next week. We'll review Admiral Bobo Goes to War. So there we go. I'm plugging it. We might do it. Or not. We'll see. But yeah, so thankfully the Foundry is back up. But it's like I'm going to reword this as Haverhaw said it on podcast UGC. The Foundry is like a zombie now that's risen from the dead because it is so laggy and slow now that it's still trying to like wake up and stuff like that. What?
I'm not even gonna comment on what Haverhaw said.
Oh, okay. But
that's great.
So you've noticed a lot more lag than I have because what you said, I was like, oh, that's worse than what I've been having.
It's like I had to say about an average about 1 out of 5 attempts actually managed to be successful. The rest were either due to log fail for unknown reasons or a timeout. So I can't even get into the Foundry level, let alone actually do something. And when I actually get in there, it takes about 5 or 10 minutes just to like go in and edit a map to have a look.
That's the issue I've had.
Yeah. So one thing that needs mentioning though is I was going to mention this before Legacy Romulus, but we never got a chance, and that is the costume import export.
Oh, right.
There on the Foundry. This allowed us, whenever you go into the costume tailor, you could save your costume. So like Murphy, you could save your costume as Admiral Murphy 1.
Yeah, I think you showed me how to do this once. I never really got into it, but...
And then in the Foundry, you go in the costume editor, you import, and it goes from the same directory. You can import that very same costume, and it's an exact copy of the one that you saved. So you can create an exact duplicate of the character you had. And lots of Foundry authors have been doing that, especially for aliens who are not entirely exact. Yeah. Especially for me, it's a bit hard to recreate my aliens.
Yeah, plus I think I had to share a few NPCs with you for a mission you were working on. So that was great for us to share resources too.
The thing about it was, I think it was Bradflix that went in and said they're disabling it because there was so many like bugs and some kind of exploit in there or somewhere. There's a lot of fuss over it, so they disabled it and they said it'll return at some point in the future as rebuilt. And I'm assuming that's because of, I don't know, importing costumes that shouldn't be there, or the costume stuff that was found out a few weeks ago when Haverhaw managed to make Furious characters in the Orion outfits. Shouldn't have happened.
Yeah. I don't like that they removed it, but I've been kind of pissy recently about Cryptic removing stuff, because a lot of stuff from the character creator got removed recently. It's like Riemann ears on my female alien are gone, so if I ever want to update that character's look, I have to change the ears, which I hate.
Did that happen at Legacy of Romulus, or was it a few weeks after?
I noticed it a few weeks after, because I actually went to go change her costume, and then it's like, boom, big Tellarite ears.
Was that the first time you touched it after Legacy of Romulus launch?
Yep.
Right, so, it's possible that was removed in Legacy from this purposely because they rebuilt the Riemann ears.
But they left like the Vulcan ears in, or the Romulan. I don't like it when they remove customization stuff, which is why with the Foundry I didn't like that either.
I'm thinking they just rebuilt the Riemann costume editor and they just simply took it out because it's like there's already a Riemann thing there. Why not use that? And they just re-edited it, and for some reason it couldn't go back to the alien creator. I don't know. I'm just guessing here, but
we don't know. They're crazy people over there, so.
Yeah, not there.
But yeah, so that was removed. Do you think it's gonna be put back in? If it is, I don't think it's gonna be soon.
No, I don't think it will at all. Those Riemann. The
import export for Foundry.
Oh, the import export. I think it will eventually, yes.
But not. I don't think it's anytime soon, if at all.
Soon, unfortunately. As a matter of fact, just before Legacy of Romulus launched, I desperately went into one of the new missions I'm in the middle of creating, and I literally imported everything character
before you knew.
Shit, I could. So I could just simply duplicate the same mission over and over again if I ever needed the future one. It took a bit of time, and of course I hit the costume edit limit, but it was worth it.
Yeah, so hopefully that gets put back in. Now there is hope that Foundry will actually get a semi-decent update pretty soon. because during our break, Stahl was over on Priority 1, where he talked a whole bunch about stuff, and he did do a little bit on the Foundry, which it's not new news, but people are treating it like new news, but we've kind of already known this. In fact, heck, when original Stoked was on, we even heard this then, which that was over a year ago.
This is basically common knowledge. I mean,
yeah. If you're a long-time Foundry,
here is the fact that Neverwinter's been launched, and that's the only significant milestone. And people were questioning, now that Neverwinter's launched, are we going to see as much development from copy-paste from Neverwinter? And I think, depending on their side, I'm thinking we're going to see about the same. I wouldn't expect any change for no reason. I mean, Neverwinter launches wasn't exactly that significant in terms of importing stuff over, really, was it? So,
but now it's official that code is good. It could be moved over into Stowe's Foundry. So, hopefully, because they have been hinting at Season 9, because Season 8 was awesome, guys. Remember that. But Season 9, the next one, because Season 8 was awesome, that's when it's supposedly going to have the Foundry stuff. Now, will it actually? I don't know. We've kind of been waiting since Foundry launched for a big Foundry update. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's speculation at this point, I would say. So I would expect maybe a couple of updates, like it has been the past couple of seasons, but I wouldn't expect a major update, to be honest. At least not until Season 10.
Yeah.
But
I haven't played around in Neverwinter's Foundry enough to know what I'd want moved over. All I've heard is that Stowe's is better, which I guess that doesn't make me feel good about it.
I think the one good thing that people are talking about this compared to Stowe's is the 3D feature.
Yeah, I've heard about that, and that sounds cool.
Neverwinter is a 3D interface when you're designing a map. Stowe's is obviously a bird's eye view, two-dimensional one.
Which, when building a map, that can be a pain, because it's a three-dimensional game.
Yeah. But the thing about it is, importing that feature is a heck of a job.
Yeah. And are they going to put resources in to do that?
Because all the different assets have to be three-dimensionalized rather than two. You've got the width and the height, but you need the breadth.
Yeah.
You actually need the 3 dimensions in there, and that would mean basically updating every asset that is, and applying all the maps 3-dimensionally in Costume Creator, and it'll take a while. I'll put it that way.
A lot of work, and with only one Foundry dev, and the Neverwinter team's not moving back over to Stowe for the Foundry, they either have to hire somebody or that dev's got to work a lot of time to get that in, so I'm not expecting it anytime soon. Plus, I guess the other thing that's got me down, I'm in a really down mood, I guess, right now, but it's none of that stuff from Neverwinter's Foundry is like the stuff I really want in Stowe's Foundry. The two things I really want right now in the Stowe Foundry is a complete overhaul of both the Costume Creator and Art Asset Creator. Both those menus. I want more options to throw stuff in missions, such as more diverse costumes. Because right now we've only got the ability to make Federation and Cleon NPCs. And they don't even have all the uniforms for that. And this also ties into Romulan's now playable, and we can't make a Romulan mission. I want to make a Romulan mission. So
yeah, they said that we're going to add the extra features in afterwards. I mean, it was pretty predictable. They even said the Romulans they'd be put in the Foundry to a Legacy Romulus launch, which is understandable. And I think that was one of the things they would put on the speculative Season 9 rather. But I would only expect it then, and a couple of other features there. The thing about it is, I don't want to assume Neverwinter port over export is the only solution for Stowe's Foundry to grow. I would expect some kind of unique development on Stowe's side because it's different. Stowe development in the Foundry is different because of all the different features it has, and
especially like bots.
It has Neverwinter, and it's nowhere near as integrated into the game as it was in Neverwinter.
Yep.
So,
that's probably another thing
it's going to diverge a bit, but don't expect the Neverwinter import-export to be completely the development. I'll put it that way. So don't just assume that.
Well, hopefully in the next coming weeks here, we'll actually hear some more news, and hopefully will fill us in that. Yes, this is going to happen in Neverwinter Foundry. Skeptical, but maybe. Well, at least they've said something. And then really quick before we get into our review of Yesterday's Tomorrow, back to Foundry Contest number 7, which I think its voting was either really close to ending or was in the middle of it before the Foundry went down. Now the voting is back up as of July 3rd, so I think that's a little bit after this episode's going to come out. And it's going to be open for a new 3-week voting period. So if you haven't got a chance to play in those missions, go ahead and play them. They're shuttle missions. So if you like shuttles and like flying around in your shuttle, Good mission
cloaking
for you.
devices.
Yeah, go fly your new Romulan.
I like shuttles and fighters now with cloaking devices.
Dude, the vault is so sweet with the Romulan cloaking devices. Just buy all you.
Straight past the mines and the turrets.
That was
It's
fun.
just like, it's a win button. It's like you don't need to do anything else.
I don't think when I first went into the vault, I activate my cloak until I had to get out of the vault. I was like, oh, right, this has a cloaking device because it's Romulan. Click. Oh, this is so much easier.
That's why you fly a Romulan shuttle or the Todouge fighter, because they both have battle clocks.
Yep.
So the Scorpion, if you fly a Scorpion or a Todouge, use the battle clock often. Use that in the vault.
So if you're somebody who does not like the vault and you have to get through it, do that because it makes it really nice. So anyway, let's get into our review of yesterday. Let me check the calendar. Yeah, yesterday is tomorrow.
And on to our review for this week. Yesterday is tomorrow, without his calendar because it's all screwed up. But anyway, as of this recording, it has 986 players with an average star rating of 3.77. Now, both me and Murphy have played this about, I want to say about 8 months ago.
Yeah, we have an event, story time. Well, we did. We haven't done it in months because the show took up that time slot. But basically, it was where we all got together and played a mission in a group and took on a role of one of the characters and read the dialogue out loud. And so we did that for this mission. And what did you have something to say?
It was your idea, to be honest.
What?
But anyway, let's go.
Oh, okay, whatever. Anyway, so we'd go run through these missions, do the voiceovers, and we played this one as one of the first ones, I want to say. And it was really, it was well received by a lot of those people, especially because primarily for those type of events, we wanted really good written dialogue because we're speaking it out loud. That was the whole point of the event. And this mission definitely gave that and a bunch more awesome things, which we're going to get into.
Like memory refreshers. Like, as soon as we got in there, we basically knew what the entire outcome of the mission. But it was just sort of a memory refresher. But now we're actually doing a full review for the show. We had to basically go through it quite logically and analyze the bits that we'd seen already.
Yep. So here we go with story then, which I already said I like this mission a lot, and I'm a story fan, so let's see what we got here. An old sleeper ship launched by Chronoworks Industries has been discovered by a Vulcan. With pirates after the same treasure you are, it's up to you to quickly solve the mysteries of this old craft and the people on board. So the plot, it's really complex, interesting, and it's well thought out in this mission. Honestly, it's on par with a lot of the Star Trek episodes written out there, and above ones like Spock's brain. In fact, I think a lot of Foundry missions are above Spock's brain, so maybe that was a bad example. But anyway, this is going to be popular with time travel fans or fans of the old Earth history that was created, like the Sanctuary Districts or World War III, that type of stuff. A lot of that is a big part of this plot because it is a sleeper ship from the 21st century.
And if you didn't recognize it already, Chronoworks Industries should probably give you a clue.
Yeah, and that's why I was a big fan of that, because I loved all the old Earth history stuff, and I loved that Chronoworks Industries episode. That was one of my favorite Voyager ones.
Future's End was like one of the only good episodes before Scorpion in the first seasons of Voyager.
I'm one of those people where I'm okay with a lot of the first seasons of shows, for Star Trek at least. Like Deep Space Nine I was okay with. I can see why people were kind of with it. TNG, definitely. But I still can watch season 1 of TNG. Voyager, on the other hand, there was not a single episode, with the exception of probably Q-List or whatever it's called, the Q episode, that I liked. Season 1 and 2, I first went to go rewatch Voyager. I got about halfway through season 2 and then stopped and never picked it back up for years. And then I immediately, when I picked it back up, go, okay, I'm skipping to season 3. And Future's End is like one of the first ones in season 3, and it's really good. It is a great two-parter.
But yeah, just really quickly, I usually use Scorpion as a marker between the first 3 seasons, which I really don't like at all, apart from Future's End, and the rest of them, which are generally a lot better. But anyway.
Yeah. The characters in this mission play a major part in the story too. They're not just like there to go, oh, over there are some Klingons to shoot. They are actually helping you out through this mission, and there's a lot of background to them too. It's not just like, who are these guys? It's optional for those of you who don't like reading a bunch, but for those of you who do, you can read it. I shouldn't say optional. You can F your way through it, but you might need to know it for a certain puzzle that we may or may not talk about in the gameplay section. But anyway, so they're comprehensive. They have their own background, and you grow attached to these characters. And I think this is also because dialogue for these characters are so well written too, because they look different for one thing. They're vastly different looking, different names and different backgrounds, and then they speak in different ways. So that gives them all their own unique and individual feel to their characters. So they're really cool like that.
There is one thing I noticed, the two main characters that you really accompany through the mission. Analyzing the dialogue, I noticed that this mission assumes your character is a male and is some kind of human.
Possibly. Yes.
What the dude even says at one point, saying, "Hey dude, hey guy, what's up?"
Oh, okay, I didn't catch that because I didn't talk to the dude. Okay, so there's like a pseudo romance thing in this mission, especially if you talk to the woman character. Yeah. And
she'll develop a bit of an attachment, shall we say?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's the same kind of a thing. I noticed it very linear in some of the dialogues, and there's not a lot of flexibility in that side of things. So it didn't exactly suit well with some. I would see with some characters that are a bit more, shall we say, diverse.
Yeah. But we don't know what she was into, so but the other guy who says dude to you, that it could be just lingo, because I've said dude to just people everywhere, so who knows, but that's just something to keep in mind. No canon contradictions, which is very good, because this mission touchstones like heck all over this thing. It's all over the map.
Links things together as well.
Yeah.
Nothing just...
You've got episodes like Gambit with the Stone of Gaul.
This episode's here, this episode's here. Let's join it into one single little dot and actually make it.
And it's from like all the series too, because like Gambit was from TNG, which involves the Stone of Gaul, which is mentioned.
Chronox Industries from Future Zen as well, Voyager. And then many episodes from Ancient Earth History. DY-100, Khan.
Yep. Khan. We've got that from TOS. We've got Deep Space Nine. Benny Russell was mentioned. Sanctuary Districts, stuff like that. I don't know if anything from Enterprise specifically was mentioned, but we've got like First Contact references. That's referenced in there. Stuff like that. There's tons of stuff.
The tension between the humans and the Vulcans.
Yep.
And again, that was brought up, wasn't it, a couple of times?
Yep. So there is tons of stuff. This guy definitely knows his Earth history and stuff like that. And if you're a fan of that type of stuff, you're going to see a lot of that through this mission. In fact, the whole story is basically around that, because you're finding this sleeper ship, and these people lived through that era and left it because it wasn't so great.
Consider this a better version of the ones you find in the neutral zone from TNG. Really.
Yeah. You know what? Honestly, I just remembered that episode now, and this is I like this one a lot more now I think about it. No grammar and spelling errors in this one, so story clocks in at 9.72, our first ranked in the story section, so nearly perfect.
Well, I thought it was really good overall, the story section. I think you were a bit overhyped on it.
I gave a lot of 10s this one, I'll be honest, and I originally had all 10s. It doesn't anymore for mine, but I looked at it, I was like, oh man, I got to tear this thing apart. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. So this is one of my favorite missions out there, at least for story. So I'm going to say this right here. If you like story, play this mission. Period. All right, so on to technical now. Let's see how technical fares with this mission. So the maps varied in this mission quite a bit. There's well-crafted ones like Vulcan. When you first go down there, you actually beam down to the physical planet of Vulcan to go into a monastery there on the map. And when you go into that, he's done a great job of building it. So it's like you go into like the upper levels of this monastery, so you actually get to see the Vulcan social map from above.
One thing I noticed that I liked the most was when you open the doors, you expect some kind of long, narrow corridor because of the way the
buildings built. Yeah.
And that's exactly what you get. You get a long, narrow corridor. It's as if the door leads right outside of the entrance point from Vulcan itself. It's like, well, you were literally opening the door and going into the mission. The only thing you're missing is actually physically opening the door yourself.
Yeah, that's it.
That's all it needs.
It's really cool.
There we go.
Yeah, and some other ones are mainly pre-made maps, like with some customization, but it's really good customization. Like the sleeper ship, that you can kind of tell it's a pre-made map, but he's put a lot of different art assets and stuff in.
A couple of issues I noticed with that. I mean, one, the Iconian symbol.
That thing I also noticed too. He reuses the Iconian map to be part of the inside ship, and of course, when the Iconians become a bigger plot in Stowe, and we see their icons everywhere, that could affect this mission.
It actually, to be honest, it actually kind of broke the immersion a little bit for me.
Did it?
Because just seeing the Iconian symbols there, it's like I could tell it was the Iconian interior because of the way that everything was shaped. But actually seeing the symbol on the wall,
the logos,
it wasn't exactly, not too much criticism, but it wasn't a lot of effort put in to cover up the different things. I felt that the interiors could have used a lot more customization.
Yeah, you might want to stick with the same interior type.
Because everything seems to be a bit spaced out for a little ship like that.
Yeah, so that's something to keep in mind. The maps, they varied. Transitions were alright in this mission, but do be prepared, especially if you have a slower internet connection. There's a lot of loading screens in this one because there are quite a few maps used. Some of them are needed, but others not so much. There's a part where you have to go into the swimming pool area, which is a nice map too.
Well, it's more like a bit of a water. It's more like a bit with water, really.
Yeah, and that's cool, but you only do go there to do one thing, and then you leave that map. So it's part of the story, but yeah, again, you had to sit through a loading screen to get to that, and a loading screen to get out. So it's a few things like that make transitions okay. The author, though, shows great knowledge of the tool set through the creation of some of these advanced triggers. I don't want to go too much into them, though, because they're used a lot in the ending of this mission, but it's a really cool ending because he's added these triggers in. Awesome effects. Puzzles. The puzzle he set up for this is quite complex because you got to go to other places in the map to get the information and then use it to overcome the puzzle. I don't want to say why, but if you fail at the puzzle, then it spawns some stuff, baddies. So you gotta be careful about it.
I'll tell you about that later. Yeah.
Yep. But so stuff like that is really cool to see, and of course the maps. There are some great maps in here, like Vulcan. He does a great job of using art assets to create maps, such as that Vulcan temple. And one thing I do want to mention for even art assets is we usually don't focus on like characters as art assets, but he's done a really good job making these characters look unique, and he's even used NPCs to represent mannequins because one of the women on the ship really likes fashion, so she has a couple of mannequins set up with her outfits and stuff. So that looks really cool. Don't look too closely at them though, because they are NPCs, and the author did a very good job of making them stand perfectly still. And they gave them the black reflective eyes, but if you stare into those eyes, you can see them moving around. You're like, what's going on here? But other than that, it's really cool to see that. Great creativity shown through this mission with cool technical tricks that you don't see in many other missions. I've seen it used a few times, the way the ending uses this. In fact, one of my own missions does a similar thing, but I don't see it as much as I wish we did. But it makes it cooler when you don't see it as much. So it's something to really keep a cool lookout for. Yeah,
I really like the originality in this mission as well, especially the guy you face up against as well. He has some very good dialogue and motives behind what he's doing. And he's one of the best villains I've seen so far in the Foundry. He's brilliant.
Even in the main game. Like, this guy's way cooler than Bavat.
He's a really original and creative character, I have to say. So, yeah.
So lots of creativity there, both in technical and even in the story there. That was a thumbs up there. There are a little bit of Foundry limitations because this is an old mission. It's been out for quite a while. The main one that we picked up was, we've mentioned this on the show before, NPCs. You can't tell them to follow you around, or you can't tell them, go walk down the hallway to this point and type on the console to do this certain thing after the player does this.
There is kind of a workaround we've seen in a couple of missions already now, so...
Yeah, which is to just have NPCs disappear and reappear, but it's a new NPC. This mission was made before that, though, so on one of the maps where two of them or one of them, or depending on which options you picked, follow you through this map. And since they can't have you follow them, the way the author does it is they'll appear on the map further down the line. So like, say you go into a room and you have to fight some bad guys, they'll be in there like just doing their shooting animation, and you're like, well, how did these guys come here? Well, if you read the dialogue, it says they're following you, but they can't really follow you. So it's stuff like that it's a bit of a Foundry workaround to pull that off.
And another little thing we've noticed is I think it was season 60 added it, wasn't it? The little dialogue titles that you can put up saying like what character or sentence you just clicked on or something. that wasn't in here, so we can tell this is a really old thing that hasn't been updated in a while.
Yeah.
So I'd really advise the author to update it with the latest new tech, because there are some great advances that we've seen since this mission came out. So, yeah, I'd say that would probably be a good idea.
Don't worry, I gotta put the names on most of my missions too. I did it on 8 of them, but that means I've still got 30 of them to go, so. Technical scored a 7.07, or 26th ranked in technical, so it's pretty good, but there are some sections that could use some improvement in, so you just might want to take a look at that. Alright, I don't have a D20 die here, so I'll have to ask Wee Wee to cover our gameplay.
Anyway, we have a bit of space gameplay, as always, but it was pretty mediocre. We've got the usual stuff, interactions, reach markers, the stuff you'd expect in any mission. But there are some of the interactions that create optional combat on a few points, which makes it interesting on this front. A little more detail in combat a little bit. But there's nothing else much beyond this that really stands out. I mean, you've got these optional interactions, and you've got reach markers that you have, and you've got dialogue, but that's it, basically. I mean, there's no... I mean, yeah, you're limited what creativity you are on there, but I don't really see really inventive ways to try and get around that nowadays.
Yeah, I don't know if you counted this, but there's a space battle you have towards the end where you have to fix some ships up. So that's kind of an interesting gameplay mechanic there. But it's just pressing F. But it's still kind of cool. It's just not go here and shoot 5 bad guys. Yeah, you're doing a few other things in this battle.
Yeah, you fix a ship and a couple of mobs spawn in, and you have to defeat them. I mean that was basically a limitation of what you would expect, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, those mobs in the combat generally it was interesting. Those mobs are skinned as Nausicaan mobs, and the groups that you face, Nausicaans are generally fairly easy groups, although they can be kind of annoying with power siphons being constantly balanced and consistently draining your power. So scatter volley, torpedo spread, pirate well, those are your friends. A few other reskins at some point, including a reskinned Orion ship to spice it up a bit. Makes it a little interesting, but not much of a difference.
Yeah.
There's no multi-stat groups, unfortunately. It makes the groups easy to defeat, and this also kind of bleeds into the fact that this is a fairly old mission, because I remember back in the day, not many people used multi-stat groups, and we do see that quite a bit nowadays. Yeah. Like I said, we see that quite a bit nowadays, and this, I really think this should be improved in this area. So
there were a lot of weak mobs too. There's like frigates and
groups
stuff.
are generally pretty easy to defeat, and I think multi-stat groups would make it more interesting and much more difficult, but not too hard. But just generally interesting. Some optional groups, as mentioned, which, again, Nausicaans, I think Orion groups, reskins as well, but nothing much beyond that. So, combat generally interesting, but nothing really too special, I'd say. There is a bit of ground though, and we've seen it in a couple of other missions, like Revo's missions. The ground gameplay is generally more engaging in this mission, especially.
That helps make it feel more Star Trek.
Yeah, there's optional stuff absolutely everywhere there is. Ranging from dialogue, contacts, interactions. These are a great addition because allow choices of players to make whether they want them to use it or not. That bleeds into like kind of like, do you feel like a captain in this mission or something? Are there enough alternate dialogues? Are there enough interactions if you want to go with that? And some objectives require other objectives first. Basically, like in this specific mission, there's a couple of things behind like a force field, which I think was supposed to be meant to be glass, but of course, force fields weren't invented then. But in order to interact with this, you have to do this first, which requires this. So you have multiple objectives. To straighten it out, you have multiple objectives all acting at the same time. We have to do one of those. You have to guess which one you have to do first. It's like, I have to do this, in order to get this, I have to do this. So you have to apply a bit of logic in this. So Murphy will fail. And one part includes knowledge from some interaction dialogue contacts, so read them. You'll need them. Optional dialogue is necessary to read in this mission because it'll allow you to advance to the next plot. You can't get through a certain area until you've read this dialogue. You need to know some of the background of these people before you can progress.
You can F your way through it, but it is more difficult.
It's more difficult. So unless you want to face turrets that decapitate you, read the dialogue.
Yep.
Add to this the optional stuff. Despite being necessary, it's nice because the dialogue is rather extensive as well. I mean, the backgrounds, he could have made it required because of that certain point, but he didn't. And that's I think that it's a bit like what happened in Colosseum. Those little consoles you didn't have to read; you could just go straight through into the sewers. But they're good for the story.
And they're really cool things when you read them.
This is the same thing here. You will need this to progress, but you don't have to read it too extensively. Ground combat, it was pretty interesting. Again, no skin groups. They use reskins, all that kind of stuff. They can be annoying much more on the ground than in space simply because of the elite raiders. Because they stun you and hold you.
They're a pain.
Grab you all the time, and it's just like, Urgh. I remember back in the old days, it was like a full like 10, 20 seconds before they actually released you. That the massive gun thing to have. Now it's only like a few seconds.
Whatever happened to us getting that? There were like leaks of those icons like way back in the early days.
I want that as a unique Klingon.
Whatever happened to that? Now I'm thinking about that because tons of people wanted that gun, and everybody got excited because the icon was like leaked in files that were found and stuff, and it's never came.
It's like this big assault weapon with a blade on the
It's like that's that gun.
It's like electric currents on the bottom of it as well. It's like that looks awesome, but we can't use it.
So Cryptic, fix it.
Yeah, so defeat those high-level mobs, the elite raiders first, or at least the captain-level mobs, because they can hold you and it's really irritating. Again, like space, no multi-set groups here either. Combat is generally enjoyable nonetheless, because the Nausicaa is a bit more difficult here.
Yeah, and they vary from the ensign squads all the way up to the captains.
Yeah, there's a lot of variety in the mobs, but yeah, like I said, it will be generally enjoyable, not too much fussing, frustrating if you get held, but yeah, it should be pretty good, I'd say. And the puzzle that was mentioned by Murphy as well. Like I said, it requires the knowledge of stuff in optional interactions, and the consequences are facing the daily turrets. Yep. That bit you need to get into to get to the next two bits is a puzzle. Like I said, you will need the background information, and if you get a part wrong, a question wrong, you will face a few turrets. I mean,
so hopefully you can fight them.
If you keep getting something wrong, you will face more than one turret.
Yep. So, do read.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea in this specific case. And of course, to round it out, there is a playability element. It's limited to multipass, so we don't quite have an alternate ending. But even this multipass only goes as far as to choose which NPC accompanies you throughout the mission. I mean, you've got a couple of NPCs we mentioned before, the and the male that calls you dude. And you get to choose which one throughout the mission to accompany you many times. Sometimes it's both, sometimes it's one or the other, sometimes it's neither. And this allows you to replay it, and because it allows you to choose this person and this person and this person. And it, like I said, it'll allow you to make a choice, and it'll allow you to feel like a captain, basically. Yep. I attach to this character, well, that's fun. Generally, gameplay score is 7.36, which put it in 19th place. Pretty reasonable, I'd say.
Yep. The only place might be the space that you want to look at, but it's still a pretty good mission on its own. You never need to score all 10s everywhere. Be a great mission, but... so summary, what do we think overall, Wee?
It's a mission for any story lover, and some pretty cool technical tricks with good ground gameplay. Space Gamer could be generally improved, but if you're a fan of any of the static episodes mentioning in Touchstoning, you will really enjoy this mission. I mean, you really enjoy this mission because it makes a connection to about half the episodes of Star Trek.
Most likely, even if you've only watched one of the series, but if you know all the episodes of that one series, you will at least pick up something from this mission. Because it touched on so much. So it's a really cool thing to see. And that's why it's probably... A lot of people play this game so they can remember the old Star Trek. This does a great job of that. So if you're one of those people playing for that reason, play this one. It's great.
This is one of those missions where it will link two different things together that you never thought possible, really. It's got the old sleeper ship from Khan and the neutral zone. It's got the corner works mentioned. It's got a couple of other stuff like that. This is a bit like, I suppose the Breen series is probably the most memorable one for me. Connecting the preservers and the ancient life forms, the ancient humanoids together, is the same idea. So that's probably why I gave it an 8.05 and put it in 13th place overall.
So really good. Almost made the top 10. I'm kind of sad it didn't.
But it's on the 8 mark, which is really important.
Yep, 8 is usually like really good mission. Definitely worth checking out. So go ahead and check this one out, guys. And if you're an author out there who has a really good mission, send it in to us at foundryfiles@gmail.com, because that's the only way we're going to hear about it.
Especially if it's Mirror Universe one, which, by the way, is still going on. It may have been 2 months. But like Klingon Cardassian Alliance, Mirror Universe stuff is still going on. I had a little teaser last time, which was unfair. So
Thanks, Cryptic. You hurt Wee Wee's feelings.
it wasn't cryptic.
Again.
It was the mission we reviewed with the alternate Cardassian, the Alliance Cardassian ship. It was a tease. I want to actual mirror. I want a mirror mission.
Wee Wee wants his mirror mission. Now I'm sad. But we'll see you next week.